We need to really understand the application of the Christian worldview. And that needs to start within our families. That needs to start. I tweeted last night, more than ever before, that conversation around the dinner table with the children. I know it never happens anymore in the modern family. But if you're wise enough to be doing homeschooling so that that time does exist, then that's when children remember what it is you have to say. And they need to have a positive understanding of how it is that God as their creator gives them transcendent meaning. It makes every little boy made in the image of God is called to be a man. And that's a distinct set of priorities that is fulfilled in light of the gifts that God gives to that little boy. And he is to be instructed and trained to take that energy that is his and that growing strength that is his and to channel it in such a way as to glorify God and to fulfill his purpose as a protector and a leader. And that little girl is to be taught that it is good to be a girl, that she would want to be a woman, that she would want to be a godly woman, that she would want to be a wife and a mother, and to nurture her own children in the fear and admonition of the Lord. And that she has transcendent meaning, transcendent value before God. That she is created in God's image and she has purpose. And that the world will seek to steal that from her by lying to her in so many different ways. In so many different ways. This has to be illustrated. It has to be modeled. It has to be made so very clear. And then we seek to communicate that reality to others around us. And right now, we still have those freedoms, but we can see. If you cannot see what's coming, if you cannot see the daily deluge of examples of people losing their jobs for saying things that would have been barely controversial 6 months ago. People get ready to be maligned. In the same way that Christians were maligned in the early church. The early Christians in that first century, they were accused of cannibalism and all sorts of sexual debauchery. They were called atheists. They were said to be basically opposed to the peace of the Roman Empire. They were seeking to overthrow Caesar. There were all sorts of lies told about them. And you read the second century apologists, and they're constantly referring to stuff and refuting stuff that we're like, why are they spending so much time on this? It was because of the constant public slander that was aimed at them. And so they had to respond to these things. That is what is already happening to us and is only going to increase. So we'll have it from outside the church, but one thing that is different now is that we will have it from inside the church too. You didn't have the apostate Christian church. You did have false teachers, but they were abused by the Romans too in those first few centuries. But now we have a different situation where you will have the apostate church joining in, and you will have those within the church. They may not be a part of apostate groups, but they are within the church, and they will seek to sow confusion and to attack And so what we call Christian cancel culture, it will be upon us. Things that were unthinkable just a matter of months ago will become normative. If I go speak at a church someplace, there have already been times in the past for normally narrow reasons where people would contact the church and say, you know, you shouldn't have that guy in because he's this and he's that. That's just going to become the norm. That's just going to become, you're going to be accused of being bigoted, racist, bigoted, racist, bigot. They don't really have a whole lot of stuff, but they repeat it loudly and scream. I really struggle when people turn their minds off and just let their emotions run wild. That's my weakness right there. I'll admit that. But anyway, this is coming. So I'm sure it's already happening, but pressure will be put on every Christian publisher to censor. We will end up going to smaller and smaller publishers over time. Amazon will start getting rid of our books, especially books on homosexuality, transgenderism, things like that. Anything that holds up any type of biblical moral norm will end up being compressed. But even they will be put under attack, and there will be calls for, well, they shouldn't be allowed to be on the internet, and so they should be banished from the internet. And so we need to find out who's hosting their websites. And I mean, these people, the other side, are totalitarians. They have one goal. Everyone has to believe the exact same thing. There can be no dissent. There can be and there's no debate either. There's no debating these folks. None. It can't be done. Not allowed to be done. The very fact that you would try to debate is considered to be a horrific, terrible thing.